guess what? We're back with another one. We are here, we are dialed, and we are here to give you some fantasy advice, baby. My nipples are tingling right now because I'm ready for it, baby. We've been dialed in, and guess what? We have a special guest on here today. We have a special guest, so I got the shades on. I got the cowboy hat on because we have our league champion right now. He's projected to be #1 overall in our league. This is Mr. Matt Wiggins from Pittsburgh. Turn me up, baby!
What's up, boys? Thanks for the introduction. Electric, as always. Look at you out here looking like Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, boy. You know what it is. Yes, sir. Yes,
the
sir.
energy. It's good to be
Yes,
back,
sir.
boys. Talking a little
Yes.
fantasy football. Giving the insights to the fellas.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get dialed in another level. And if you have not been here before, we do 12-man PPR leagues. That's the information we are giving out and we are deciphering on here. And if you want to drop any comments, you want to figure out who should I trade, who should I pick up, if you want to figure out, hey, how do I make my grow 8 inches, we can give you this information. Just drop it below. I promise you. We have all the links and everything you need. Promise you. Woo, baby, I'm feeling electric. But we got to let the guests give us the first trade for targets. What you got dialed up for us, baby? Come on now. The people need to hear.
All right. So I brought you 3 categories right here. All right, so one is going to be buy low breakout. Second one is going to be a little bit of good value, right? You know, somebody that you're trading for that people are aware of, but you're still getting good value on them, maybe coming off some poor weeks. And then my third one, buy high, but we're going to the fucking moon, baby. All right? I don't care what you're giving up. All right, so the first one I'm going to throw at you, buy low, break out. And this is going to be none other than my boy T. Higgins right here.
Yeah,
okay? I mean, this man is incredibly talented, and he's shown glimpses of it this year, all right? I mean, there's a reason why this man's ADP was so high. I mean, people were stoked about T. Higgins coming into the year. And then you look at his first 5 games, 4 points, 6 points, 3 points. He's injured, right? 2 weeks ago, coming off of an injury last week, gives you, 3 points. Then you look at that week 2, you see 28 points, and you're thinking, okay, I see why he was drafted so high. But, I mean, he's coming off of a rib injury this week. He only gives you a few catches, right, 3 points. But even if he has a few more slow weeks, I mean, this Bengals offense is just going to explode. I mean, you look at Joey B, his numbers through the first 5 weeks, garbage, right? There's no denying that. But it's the calf, man. I mean, what have we seen from Joe Burrow the last 3 years? He is a bona fide superstar quarterback in this league. And when he gets 100% healthy, I would look for T. Higgins to take off. I mean, people have been talking about Tyler Boyd. Has he overtaken him? No, not a chance. T. Higgins is that bona fide number 2. I mean, Jamar Chase is on another planet. But you get a pass-happy offense like this, and you get a 1-2 combo with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, man, I'm trading for T. Higgins all day long. Now, the one thing I will say is you're getting great value here, but I wouldn't completely overspend just kind of looking at the defensive matchups that the Bengals have going on. I mean, we got our resident Cleveland fan in the building right here. So Cleveland is on that list of defenses. I mean, maybe the best defense in the last 40 years. That's what people are saying. I don't know. But I mean, you're looking at San Francisco, Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, closing out with Cleveland. So I love T. Higgins, but if you're looking for him to get 30 every week, maybe temper that back a little bit, but still great value, I think, right here.
Yeah. Now, do you worry about the target share from Chase and potentially him getting more targets, or is that a concern for T?
I don't. I think Chase is always going to garner, at least 10 to 15 targets per game. But even if I'm sitting there and I get 8 or 9 targets a game for T. Higgins, I mean, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd through the first 5 weeks have been getting a very similar target share. But I think it's because Joe Burrow's just been doing underneath passes, right? You see Tyler Boyd catching a lot of screens, running yards after the catch. T. Higgins is somebody that loves to live over the middle, make those long out-breaking catches and everything. So I think even if he's giving me 8 to 9 targets a week, he's so talented on his breaks. He can high point the ball, big target. Yeah. So I like what he brings, even in that number 2 behind Chase. Because you got to think Joe Burrow. Yeah. I mean, that defense isn't anything special. They're probably going to be throwing the ball. As he gets more healthy, they're going to be throwing the ball 35 to 45 times a game, no doubt. And we've seen what he can do when he's healthy. I mean, he's on the money. So, yeah, Chase is going to be that bona fide number 1, but I like T. Higgins with about 8 or 9 targets a week.
Nice.
Yeah, and also too, you gotta like the Bengals started 0-3 last year too, baby. Come on, so let's remember history here a little bit. And when you drafted T. Higgins, you weren't drafting him to put up 20, 30 a week. He is a very boomer bust type player. So if I can get that on my team for low, hell yeah, baby. Let's put that in my flex. Freak me out, baby. Come on, what else you got over here, Matt? I know you got some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's move into the good value right here.
Empty the tank. Empty the tank, baby. Keep telling me.
The good value.
Yeah.
Somebody that I absolutely love, somebody that, disclaimer, I have drafted in another league, and he's killing it for me. This is going to be my boy, Sam Laporta. All right? Sam Laporta is a rookie, and the trend over the last few years, and now it started with my very own Kyle Pitts, right? Starting that trend of rookie tight ends just absolutely dominating fantasy. Yeah. He might have fallen off a little bit, you know. We'll leave that for another conversation.
We don't know where he is.
But that rookie year, you know, he kind of opened the door for those rookie tight ends.
Oh, yeah.
And Sam Laporta is somebody who has just busted right through that door. I mean, he is the solid number one option in a Detroit offense that loves to pass the ball, has a quarterback in Jared Goff who's sneakily had putting up a really, really good season. I mean, you're also talking about a Lions team that has a pretty good defense and is going to win a lot more games than they lose this year.
Yeah.
And the best thing that I love about Sam Laporta is he has carved a role in this Lions offense where he commands a very healthy target share.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at the touchdown that he had on that wheel route where they were doing the trickery in the backfield 2 weeks ago. I mean, that's a designed touchdown just for our boy Sam Laporta right there. So, you know, especially in that pass-happy offense, particularly with David Montgomery going down, maybe out for the next 2 weeks. Jahmyr Gibbs has been banged up. I mean, they're going to be looking to throw the ball more than ever over the next few weeks. And I mean, even you look at last week, the reason that I have him at good value is because he's coming off of a not-so-great game. You know, he gives you 3 for 45 last week, you know, 7.5 PPR points. But he's got 11 targets. I mean, he catches just 2 or 3 more of those. You're looking at 5 or 6 more fantasy points, and that might take you from losing a matchup to winning a matchup by a few points. So he's going to command that huge target share. Jared Goff is having a really good year. And I like the Lions to, you know, maybe win 10, 11 games this year.
I know.
Yeah, I'm liking the value that I get from big boy Sam Laporta and the rookie.
Yeah. The tight end position's been extremely tight this year, too. So
real tight.
Yeah. That's
so
another
tight.
thing. The other thing that I had is you look at this guy's ADP, right? I mean, he's drafted in like round 14, round 15, sometimes undrafted. People, I mean, you know, if you're playing in a league where your league mates aren't constantly watching, you know, fantasy news and things like that in the offseason, they might not even know the name Sam Laporta, you know? So given his ADP in those last 2 rounds of the draft, your league mates might not even be starting him right now. You know, you might be able to find a gem on someone's bench. They might have drafted Mark Andrews in the 2nd round or, you know, Travis Kelce in the 1st round, and they just threw old Sam Laporta on the bench for the last 5 weeks. So I think you're getting really good value, especially if he's not a starter on someone's team.
For sure.
Yeah, I like that, man. When you start talking about bust to the wall, I started thinking of the Kool-Aid Man. I think Sam Laporta exactly did that so far this season, man. He busted that wall with Kool-Aid Man. He said, "Hey, what's up, baby?" Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But who's your final candidate that you got for the trade forward targets that we can give to the peoples, baby?
So I actually got 2 more. Another one in this good value slot right here. He's kind of been popping off, but it's another name that people might not have known before the season started.
Yeah.
And that's going to be my boy Nico Collins.
Ooh,
now I look to Nico Collins, not in that WR1 moving forward, but a solid WR2 going forward, which is why I have him firmly in this good value slot right here. I mean, you look at this rookie class this year, and C.J. Stroud is a baller. Honestly,
Goat.
I mean, it took what 200 pass attempts for this man to throw his first interception against a sneaky top 5 New Orleans defense last week too, and they still win the game. So the Texans are a team that not a lot of people look to win more than 5 or 6 games this year, and I think they might rattle off 8, 9, 10. I mean, they're in a division where you're playing weak defenses. Really, the only competition is going to be the Jags. So with C.J. Stroud popping off like he is this year, you're in a pass-happy offense, and Nico Collins is that boy in that offense. Now, I know a lot of people like Tank Dell, but I mean he's a true deep threat, maybe akin to the Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave relationship that they have going over in New Orleans.
I know.
So Tank Dell's not going to take a lot of targets away from Nico Collins. I mean, Nico Collins is a big body, high pointing the ball, catching balls over the middle, comeback routes. So I like him. I like his yard after the catch too. So yeah, Nico Collins is somebody that I look at to have a big year the rest of the way.
And you also have to think their game script too. They're going to be playing behind from a lot of games as well. You don't really have to worry about Pierce in the backfield really causing any trouble. They're going to be
Pierce, you like it, huh?
Yeah, and I mean that's an offense that they've grown to have a lot of confidence in CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And the reason that I have him at good value is kind of the same breath as Sam Laporta. He's coming off a week where he gives you 11 points. The week before that, he gives you 7 or 8 points. And I mean, I don't think you can read too much into that. He's playing a top 5 Saints defense last week. They still win the game. And before that, I mean, they lost to Atlanta, but they were in Atlanta against a sneakily good ATL defense over there that was confusing CJ Stroud a little bit. So, yeah, their schedule and the defense that they're going to play, kind of a cakewalk the rest of the year with the schedule that they have and the division that they're in. So, yeah, I like Nico Collins. They're not afraid to pass the ball 40 times a game. Like Ryan said, they're going to be playing from behind. So, yeah, I like him in that good value role right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's good. I mean, we've been hyping up Mr. Dalton Schultz. I'm not a big Schultz doctor. I've never had actual Schultz insoles in my feet, but I love when he's attached to C.J. Stroud, baby. And that's why we've been buying up these Texan guys. So I think Nico is a great play because look at this. You're telling me I can put a guy in my flex who has a ceiling of, what was it, like 35, 38 was like one of his season highs so far. Or he had a 35-point game. I mean, dude's been going dunk on some games. So why would I not want to put that in there? And as a fantasy manager, seeing he put up 12, you might be able to get a little package to it like, hey, what about that guy Nico? Slide him in there too. So, yeah, I definitely like that. But Scatty, baby, are you over there? Can you hear me?
No.
Tell me what you got, you fucking – come on, boy. Come on.
What are you going to say after that?
I'm itching. Me and the people are itching, bro. We're scratching our neck right now. Come on.
All right. First trade forward target I have is none other than Puka Nacua.
Oh, Puka.
He finally put up a dud this past week. He came back to reality, that waiver wire magic. But I think he put up like 6-7 points this past week. And this is the perfect time to trade for him. Maybe fantasy managers think his run is over with the return of Cooper Kupp. But you don't want to let them know that. You want to let them know that you're serious about trading for Puka. And I mean, I think he remains a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, kind of like maybe he's like akin to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill over there in Miami.
Yeah, I like that comp. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe he's kind of similar to that. So I'm not sure. You might be able to put like a little 2-for-1 deal together, maybe kind of 2 middle to lower end players for Puka, just because he is a WR2 on that team. And Matt Stafford's a baller, man. He's always been a baller. He's always going to be healthy. Even if he's not, he's going to start slinging it. And especially when teams start to double Coop, look for Puka to be a great threat for Matt Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that, baby.
I love that. Yeah, you talk about game script, too. I mean, you look at what Cooper Kupp does lining up in the slot. I mean, his first game back, he catches 10 slant routes for like 100 yards. So that's going to be drawing a linebacker. Maybe the safety is going to be coming up to stop that slant route. And now you put Puka on the outside. Maybe you get a one-on-one coverage, and he breaks that off. He's catching the ball over people, yards after catch, monster. So, I like that. It's a good time to take advantage of some of your league mates here.
Oh, yeah. But start making them think like I did get him off the waiver wire, that's what's going to come in. Like, come into me. Keep it rolling, baby. What else you got?
Yeah. My next one is not really I would say, buy or like trade for candidate, but you might be able to throw a little package deal together for Chris Olave. And Chris Olave is a guy who hasn't really popped off this year yet. I mean, he's had quiet games where he scored maybe 19 points, 16 points here and there. I know he scored like 16 points last game, and the game before that, the 2 games before that, he put up like 10 points combined or something crazy like that. But you can probably throw a package deal together for him. You have to think, too, probably the Saints with Derek Carr might be playing from behind. He's a deep threat for Derek Carr. And I think last week, let me read his target share. He had 7 receptions for 96 yards. So, I mean, that's not bad. And he's only scored 1 touchdown this year as well. So, I think if I memory serves, I think his schedule he goes through an easy stretch here coming up. He's got Jacksonville, Indiana, Chicago, and Minnesota. Then he goes on bye. That's kind of where it starts to get tough. So maybe look to trade for Chris Olave for this little stretch, and then maybe look to trade him away after. Let's say you're a team that's maybe down, like I don't know, maybe your record's 2-4 or 1-5 or even 0 for. Chris Olave might be a good play for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if there was a bet on FanDuel where I could bet Mike Thomas to not play 17 games, I would hit that button. So, Olave to the moon, baby. Derek Carr, I think this past weekend, bro, game script was a little, not the best for him, but I think he ended up throwing, close to 50 passes, dude. The shoulder's feeling ripe again. And if you look at Chris Olave's way he's played, it's been strictly based on his shoulder. The previous 2 games, the shoulder injury really didn't help Olave, and also too, he had a little bit of some toe injury. So I would feast on these Olave owners, Matt Wiggins right now. But
I was gonna say I like that a lot, man. As somebody who drafted Chris Olave in the second round of our league right here, our home league. I've watched a lot of Chris Olave this season, and I gotta say, I've been sweating every time that I watch him. I mean, he is somebody. Now you bring up the schedule over the next 5 weeks, and I love that. As someone who has that, I love hearing that. Even if you wanted to trade for him and keep him later, I think he would be the definition of a boom or bust league winner type of player. Because I mean, you mentioned the fact he only has 1 touchdown. I think as he starts to build that connection more and more with Derek Carr, he's definitely gonna show positive regression in the touchdown department. I mean, even just 2 weeks ago, I remember watching him just barely miss a 70-yard touchdown from Derek Carr, and my heart dropped a little bit on that one, I gotta say. But I mean, you also think about who would even possibly be taking targets from him, and it's Michael Thomas completely underneath. I mean, he doesn't really get out more than 10, 15 yards anymore, and Rashid Shaheed is just a pure deep threat, kind of like Tank Dell is. And I mean, you're looking at the rest of that 15 to 35-yard range down the field for Derek Carr. I mean, that's all Chris Olave, breaking over the middle, out routes, things like that. So, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and he's a guy I just put in there because he's a guy that really hasn't shown his true potential yet with that 1 touchdown. I mean, he's already having good games, 16-point games, 19-point games, 17-point games, but he's not scoring. And once he starts scoring, he's going to start to put up, like, Diggs numbers, Chase numbers. I mean, the sky's the limit for him. So, moving on.
16 turns into a 24 real quick.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, true potential not shown yet.
But
finally, my next one, I have my Cleveland boy, Jerome Ford.
The dirty brown.
Oh, Cleveland Steamer, huh?
Yeah, you're big into those this time of year, huh? Yeah, a little cold outside, huh?
Oh yeah,
another one of my league boys right there. He's trying to trade
dude coming from Matt's team right now. We know
you got to target the 5-1 teams. You know,
you're gonna be dealing with Matt's team all week, man.
Yeah, exactly. But Jerome Ford against the 49ers carried the ball 17 times for 84 yards, and this is a 49ers team who has one of the Bosa brothers on their team who's really good, and he's got a really good offensive line too. Jerome Ford does, and if he can put up 84 yards on 17 carries against a stout 49ers defense, I think you're pretty comfortable either maybe starting him in your RB2 role or even your flex. I think it would be good too. Problem with him is he just doesn't really get many screen plays. It's mainly or dump offs, I say. It's mainly Kareem Hunt getting those. But if you look at his first 5 touches first 5 games by the touches, it's 15, 19, 12, 14, 19. So the Browns are using him a lot. It's just whether or not he can break off that big run and score touchdowns. Because a lot of times when the Browns get inside the 10-yard line, it's going to be Kareem Hunt getting the ball and just trying to plow his way forward. So it really just comes down to the big runs for Jerome Ford, but he has it in him. He's kind of like a baby Nick Chubb. He's like a Walmart Nick Chubb.
He's little Chubb.
I do get that when I'm looking at him. I mean, he wears that 3-4, and sometimes he turns around, and I feel like I'm seeing 2-4 out there. You know? I love Jerome Ford. I mean, as somebody who drafted him in the very last round of our draft this year. You hate to see the injuries, right? I mean, that was brutal what happened to Nick Chubb, but I'm sitting there in a hotel room, I'm watching that game, and I see his leg go, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my bench, I see Jerome Ford, and I know a lot of people shot to that waiver wire to pick him up.
Yep.
And I think like Puka, he's going to be one of those waiver wire ads where he pans out long term. I mean, you could see the talent right off the bat. I mean, in that very first game, he gets thrust in, only has a few games under his belt, and he breaks off a 70-yard touchdown. Pulls up short at the end, and it was a little gas for the next 15 minutes of the game, I'd say. But, yeah, it's somebody you can see the burst, you can see the cuts, and the explosiveness. So, yeah, I like him.
Yeah. That sounds good. Sounds like I need to wrap this thing up, baby, and give some of the boys a little bit of love. And you know what? I'm going to Bijan and beyond, baby. Because right now, Bijan is at an all-time low, and you can get him at an all-time low. Now, this fantasy owner is tied to that first draft capital, baby. And I can tell you this because I'm tied to that fucking first draft capital. But if you figure out this team, like if this team is currently, let's say there are 2-4 going into this week, which possibly could be me. But if someone is 2-4, they need somebody to go. They know they can get something for Bijan and they can trade off. You can get them a little bit lower. But when we look at these running backs, the running back room is so beat up this year. I mean, Monty, he went down this week. He was like kind of projected to be that top 4, top 5 almost guy finishing up now. And now missing 2 weeks, Gibbs is going to start taking some role too. So you don't know where that might end. But this running back room has just been completely beat up this year. C-Mac too, he might even miss a game. We don't know. So when I look at Bijan, I mean, he's a freak. If you watch his games, he's a highlight reel. I mean, love watching him. But the fantasy manager is seeing the 11-point, the 13-point game, and they're like, what is going on right now? But if you watch his game, Mac can attest to this. Desmond Ridder. I mean, what, 3 interceptions last week, bro? They were moving the ball. They had like over 400 yards total. But, dude, they just could not finish at the end. It was so bad. And Bijan is not – this is his floor that you're seeing right now. Because currently this guy almost has close to – I think it's just right around 35 catches already this season, close to – or at least targets receiving, I should say, targets. So I want you to look at your wide receiver 2 right now. I want to look at your wide receiver 3s right now. I guarantee Bijan is competing with him right now. When just targets alone, we're not even talking about the rushing here. So this guy has Austin Eckler-esque type catches that he can do. He's just got to regress on these touchdowns. He's got to figure out a way to get it. And this team is going to start doing it. Desmond Ridder is not a passer, and that proved last week. They're going to start running this ball more and start taking that ball out of the hands of Desmond Ridder or doing a little bit more quick dump-offs to Mr. Bijan. But you're going to have to give an arm and leg for this guy. I'm not saying you're buying him low. You're going to have to give a little bit of paint to get a little bit of the bucket, baby. So just kind of give you an FYI, but this is someone that I like to attack because I like having exciting people on my team when I can take them at a low opportunity. And the next person I'm going to roll into is coming off a bye. I'm going to stay on the RBs. I'm going to stay on the RBs, baby. That's Mr. Aaron Jones. Now, this is a little bit risky I'm talking here. And the reason why I'm saying this is because risk comes reward. That is what we're doing. Remember, trade for here. We're not trying to trade for, let's say Tyreek Hill. Yeah, obviously, I'd love to have fucking Tyreek Hill. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to have to pay like my whole entire team. We're talking about people who can have the high upside, but yeah, it's going to be a little risky. Right now, Aaron Jones is coming off the hammy. He was ruled out the week prior coming into the game. So fantasy managers are already frustrated with this kid. And a lot of people are on bye this week, so try to fill out that team who has Aaron Jones. And if they don't have too many people on bye to where they could start or bench him, try to give that little bit of a type running back like, who could I trade for Mr. Aaron Jones? Like low-key, I would be tempted to trade Monty plus, well, it'd be Monty for Aaron Jones, but plus someone else. Like give me maybe a Aaron Jones, Zay Flowers. I might be able to get, you think that would maybe get done for Monty, or do you think that's kind of a stretch?
I think that's a stretch. I don't think that gets done.
Okay.
Just based off the
so
week
who would be a wide receiver we can throw in there that could also help in the flex?
Maybe like a Dotson, Jahan Dotson.
Dotson's like bottom barrel right now.
I know his ass, but maybe any sort of Commanders player. McLaurin.
Well, McLaurin just put up some good numbers against my Falcons, so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I mean
know.
not bad, but there's a wide receiver you could get I think you could get a high end wide receiver 3 with that, but you still get the upside of Aaron Jones like finishing where what Monty could be is doing right now, but then also you can get a wide receiver they could put in your flex. But we're trying to go for a wide receiver in that trade that's going to be a very boomer bust. Like he might be off a bad week. I'd be curious maybe a Ridley you could maybe if he had a Ridley because Ridley could be someone you might be able to get off. He came off a week where he put up like 5 points again. Just he's only had 2 games where he's done anything, so you might be able to get a done deal there. Would you think that would be any better, or is that still a stretch there with Ridley?
I don't know. 2 for 1 for just Monty. I don't know about that. I think you might be able to trade away like Monty for Aaron Jones straight up, but I mean that's kind of risky. You would need something in
I would
return
never do
for.
that. Monty is
No,
much
I know.
better than Aaron.
You would need
But
something
I
in
do
return.
I do like the Aaron Jones target though, because I mean,
I do too.
fantasy managers when Aaron Jones has been out, we're looking at that big boy AJ Dillon, thinking
Yeah.
that he's going to come through, and instead of looking like Aaron Jones, he looked more like Joshua Kelly when Austin
Yeah.
Eckler was out.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
homeboy has not been doing anything, so when Aaron Jones gets back, I mean they're going to be feeding this man the rock. And also,
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about Jordan Love. I sat there, I let you pick apart Desmond Ritter for a little bit, and it's all warranted. You look at Jordan Love, somebody who's coming off he's had like 5 interceptions the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be throttling back his passing attack a little bit, and
Yeah.
I mean they're going to be leaning on what they know, and that's Aaron Jones catching the
Yeah.
ball. Short completions, get Jordan Love's confidence up, right? Get him out in the flat, get him on screen passes, maybe across the middle on some slants, and then that line's going to open up some holes. So. Yeah, I like targeting Aaron Jones.
Yeah. And remember, when you're targeting for this guy, we're not paying full price for Aaron Jones. We're paying pennies on the dollar. So don't be giving an arm and leg for this guy because that is not what he's currently worth right now, even though we think that upside is there for him. So next 2 people I'm going to roll out for my final is going to be Mr. Skinny Batman. And I'll tell you the next one here in a second. You're going to have to wait. But Skinny Batman is the guy that I really like because he is someone who I can plug into a wide receiver too. And depending on your team, how many players you got, you might be able to get like put him in a flex spot. But you drafted him not to be someone who's going to be A.J. Brown. Like I did when I drafted Skinny Batman, I wasn't thinking he was going to put up games like A.J. I think they were going to switch off back and forth, which is coming in the cards because last week he had 11 targets and only caught 5. You're telling me that's going to happen again? I highly doubt it. And I'm not going to lie, I did see Skinny Batman drop a 30-yard pass. I have the blinds on, so I pretended like I didn't see that. But I'm telling you, this team is going to turn it around. Jalen was the first time ever threw 3 interceptions last week. If you watch the game, really 2 of them were kind of it was pretty tough as far as interceptions. The last one was atrocious. Fucking made me want to stab my eyes out with some really sharp needles. But, regressing, though, you look at Philly, they're an explosive offense. They're going to get it done now. I think the targets are going to keep coming to Devontae's way, and he's going to start catching some more balls. So just stay patient. The fantasy manager who has him probably isn't too patient, but you should be able to, I think, snag him for a decent price right now and then to level up your wide receiver room. What do y'all think?
Mm-hmm. I totally agree, man. I mean, fantasy managers are looking at those score lines the past few weeks, and they're sweating.
Yeah.
AJ Brown is putting up numbers, and they're watching they're watching Skinny Batman drop 30-yard passes across the middle, and I watched that one too, and I had a little win.
I was like, damn, man, come on.
Sent down the body a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is someone who, I mean, you want them to be akin to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And I mean, this is a team. I know DeAndre Swift back there has been a monster this year, and you got that offensive line for running. But let's face it. I mean, this is a team that's going to throw the ball 40 times a game. You look at Jalen; he's dropping back. He's throwing 50 times against the Jets. This is a player who, and Devontae Smith, who's going to have no less than 8 to 10, maybe 12 targets a game. I mean, you're going to have your A.J. Browns up there, but this is someone that I look at just like T. Higgins, and I think that Smith is way more talented than Higgins. So if you're giving me a choice, I'm probably going to take the talent.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then my last one, I'm just going to put it in here, but it's pretty much assumed, everybody try to buy up Taylor. It's going to be really hard, I feel like, to buy Taylor just because that manager has probably had him the whole time. They haven't really traded him, the person who has JT right now. So if you could try to package something, and then just kind of maybe give them the win at wide receiver by a little bit, and then you kind of win. You get the feeling like you win at RB. You might be able to do some kind of package deal. I don't know, but I don't know if you're going to be able to do anything straight up for Taylor unless it's someone who the manager really likes. But I'd like maybe a package deal, try to get up Taylor because he's currently last week or the week prior, he was I think it was almost like a 90-10 split. This week, I mean, it's pretty dead even. And I think from here on out, this is his floor. The 11 points he scored this week, it's his floor. He's not going to score anything lower than this. It's going to be nothing but up. And Zach Moss is going to finitely, continuously move out of there, and you'll hear it on the next show. But JT to the moon if you can get him, but it's going to take a little bit. So be ready to wheel and deal for this guy. I mean, he was the number one pick only, what, was it a year ago or so? I mean, let's be honest here. Yeah, the guy has talent. It was only thing was interesting was injury, which he's good now, and then also the money. He got paid. So both those big question marks have been canceled out now. So there's no other question marks. I mean, this team right now, they had Gardner Minshew turn the ball over a couple times. I imagine they're going to try to take it out of his hands a little bit next game. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that. So let's get JT. Let's roll him up. Let's try to get it, and let's hit this thing. So
yeah, I love that. And I've tried to have a rule this year with running backs, and it's been by the talent.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a guy who's talented. I don't really give a shit what offense they're in. I mean, as long as they're putting up, more than 10 points a game, which is pretty hard, pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
With the running back room, like you mentioned previously, being so short this year, and you
atrocious.
need to have a boy that's going to get back there. I mean, by the talent, and that kind of, I want to throw one more player at you. Before we go to these, and
I got my hands up.
That's kind of a little segue right there. That by the talent moniker, and that's Breece Hall.
Ooh!
I mean, this is a guy against your Philadelphia Eagles putting up numbers.
Hey, now easy, bro. My heart's fragile right now, bro. My heart's so fragile.
Against that big boy D line. I mean, this is a guy, I have him listed as buy high, but he's going to the moon, baby. I mean, this I think could be a potential league winner for somebody. Doesn't really matter what price you're getting for him. I mean, this is somebody who's getting healthier, tears his ACL last year. You can finally see him getting more comfortable, making those cuts out of the backfield, catching balls on screens, running behind that offensive line. And I mean, let's face it, he's so much more explosive than Dalvin Cook is, and he has clearly taken over that number one running back role. He's gotten the majority of touches, the vast majority of touches over these past two games. Every time Zach Wilson drops back, I feel like he's looking at Breece Hall as that first target, If
he's looking at the other team.
If he's not looking at the other team first, or Garrett Wilson wide open across the middle, he's dumping that bitch off to Breece Hall. And, Breece Hall is going to make somebody miss. Especially with that defense that they have. I think they're not a good team, but they're a frisky team. I mean, let's face it, they might be in a lot more games than they get blown out this year. With that defense and just non-catastrophic quarterback play, I think Breece Hall is going to be a great option moving forward.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, yeah.
The only thing I disagree with you there, I think his first read is the Mills in the stand. It's definitely not the wide receiver Garrett Wilson's son. That's a first read. Where's the Mills at? So, this has been it's been a good little trade for. Hopefully you made it to this point. If you made it to this point, slap a subscribe button real hard right now, baby. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. I don't care what you do, but just give us something. Give us a little attention, baby. We're a little attention whores. We like a little something this time of year.
Report instead of support.
Yeah, hey, if you want to report us, send us we have our email link below, send us a screenshot if you're reporting us. We'll fucking put it on our story. So, this has been Rethink Reality. We'll catch you in the next one. Appreciate y'all.